Just wait.
You,
Ready, Sherry?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. Today is the regular monthly meeting of the Clinton Inland Wetlands Commission. It's Tuesday, February 6th, 2024. Time is 7:01 p.m. Sherry, would you mind calling roll for tonight?
Lawrence Edwards.
He was here.
Here, I don't
Where'd he
see
go?
him right now. I wonder if I need to admit him again. He must have had a problem with his connection because he's back.
He's back. Okay. Lawrence Edwards.
He's connecting to audio, Sherry.
Okay, I'll go back. Eddie Alberino.
here.
Michael Florio.
Here.
Robert LaFrance.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, wasn't he supposed to have turned in his resignation?
He
That's
has not.
He has not yet. So technically, he's still a full seating member until he is.
Oh, boy.
Bertram Schmitz.
Here.
Ryan Tardizel.
Here,
Ryan, you're here? Oh,
He
I
is.
am, yeah. I made it a little
Okay.
late.
let me just start it over here. Scott Harley.
Here.
Lawrence Edwards.
Here.
Robert Corson.
Here.
Chris Horvath.
Here.
Okay. Can we sit Bob Corson for Rob LaFrance?
Okay. I don't know who
There's-
that's.
Someone might need to mute. I think there's like television noise in the background.
It seems to be Lawrence Edwards, background
Yeah.
noise, I believe.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I was trying to, I didn't even know you guys could hear me. I was, I had gotten on and off twice because I asked if you could hear me and no one answered. So I got off.
Yeah, we
And what-
couldn't hear you. We can now, though.
Apologize. Okay.
We can't see you.
I can see me. You can't see me?
No.
No,
Uh,
Okay, so you can work on your video and we'll.
Yeah.
So Bob Corson, you're a voting member tonight since I seated. You. So you can be voting. And I just want to say hello to our newest member, Chris Horvath. So welcome, Chris. Glad to have you on board and appreciate you volunteering.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
welcome,
Thank you.
Chris.
Welcome, Pastor.
So we seated members. So item agenda number 2, some cleanup from previous meetings. So we need to review and approve the regular monthly meeting minutes for December 5th, 2023. If anyone doesn't have any edits to those meeting minutes, I'll take a motion to approve those.
so moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, it was Ryan Tardizel. Any discussion on the meeting minutes from December? Okay, all those voting in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Barry, I'll abstain from those since I was not at that. Item agenda number 3, receipt of applications after the filing of the agenda. I don't believe that there is any new applications, right?
no new applications came in.
Well, and I'll get to the other one that we need to add.
Mhm.
But let's first get to item agenda number 4. So this is a show cause hearing. E23-80, issuance of a cease and correct order by the Wetlands Enforcement Officer Kathy to Nicholas and Brittany Macerlo. This is for 13 Ironworks Road for likely regulated activities within 100 feet of an inland wetlands or a watercourse without a permit. It's for clearing, cutting multiple trees, grading, and deposition of materials. It's going to be Assessor's Map 51, Block 39, Lot 62 in the zone R80. So, Kathy, I guess I'll turn this one over to you.
Okay, so I don't know if you've all had a chance to read my memo that I sent out, but just a quick
Hey. Sorry.
summary. So on November 20th, I talked with Nicholas Massalaro, the property owner. He had a question about putting up a shed on his property. And when I looked at it on the GIS, I noticed that there were wetlands. And he had said in talking with me that he had already done work in the area, including clearing, cutting of multiple trees and grading. And he said the work likely was within 100 feet. So I explained to him that if he did work within 100 feet of inland wetlands, he would need to have the inland wetlands flagged and would have to have permitting done. So he did. He called Bob Russo, who's a certified soil scientist who's here, and Bob went out and he flagged the inland wetlands. He also sent a report, which I attached to my memo, where he discussed the violation and his plan for remediation. And Ben Whalen then got involved after that as contractor. So with property permission, I also went out to the property on January 5th, just so I could verify. I took photos, which I attached to the violation. I saw the wetlands flags had been placed, and I measured where the area, where it was graded, where I could see the tire tracks from the heavy equipment. And I measured 5 feet from one inland flag and 4 from the other. And I observed 2 large tree stumps that were freshly cut. So I had issued a cease and correct order. And so there's a proposed, again, remediation plan from Bob Russo, which I'll let him go through. And then I just put in some steps for things the commission to consider and determine during the meeting, such as whether or not they would like to schedule a site visit, if they feel they have enough information, or they would like to hire a third-party expert, such as a certified soil scientist, to determine if Robert Russo's plan is the correct course of action for remediation, and to set a completion date. And also the commission, if they choose, may set a bond if they feel it's appropriate. Also, if they feel it's appropriate, they could set a fee for violation, a penalty for offenses. They can determine if there's in the remediation plan mention of 2-year monitoring. So if the WEO has to inspect, the commission can determine whether there should be an additional fee for the time that takes. And the commission should state conditions in the motion for mowing and maintenance of that regulated area if replanted. So I put a potential motion if the commission decides to approve this plan. And I also included some findings of fact. So if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, I was going to turn it over to Mr. Russo, the certified soil scientist.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. As your staff mentioned, my name is Bob Russo. I'm a certified soil scientist with CLA Engineers in Norwich, Connecticut. I became aware of this when I was contacted by the owner to go out and look at it after his conversation with Kathy about wanting to put a shed up or some other structure up on the site. And Ben Whalen also subsequently became involved. Just so that you understand, there was some work done prior to our involvement that caused this violation. I did go out on the site in December, and if you have had a chance to look at my report, included a couple pictures and an aerial photograph from the Connecticut Eco site that shows the conditions out there before the alterations were done. Essentially, to summarize what I found, I went out just with hand implements, a Dutch auger. I could see just visually, it was apparent that wetland had been filled. I took auger samples in the fill, moving further and further from the current edge of wetland into what was upland. And you can see on the sketch that I provided you an approximate area that I determined based on soil auger samples of filled wetland, roughly 20 feet by 40 feet. That's imprecise because the hand auger is tough to really cover all that area with. But it is apparent to me there was freshly graded soil out there, as your staff mentioned. And it's not just that there was work in the upland review zone, it's that there was fill in the wetland. My recommendation is that this be removed. Given that it's a relatively small area, I think it can be done relatively easily. I'd recommend something like a mini excavator to pull back the soil that was deposited in the wetland and also establish a reasonably gentle slope around the upland edge. I'm also recommending that a soil scientist be out there to oversee this. This is important because a soil scientist can tell, based on the soil horizons that are buried, what area was formerly wetland and what area was formerly upland. So it's important to have someone out there overseeing the excavator's operator to say, this is the amount that you need to take out, and you need to stop right here at the old wetland topsoil, the original wetland topsoil. Unfortunately, I've done this a number of times. These things happen in all towns. But I feel that once that soil is excavated and removed, and any surplus taken off site, as I've mentioned in my letter, and properly reused off site, and the grades around the wetland are established so that there's not a great risk of erosion, this wetland can be restored. I've also included notes that some kind of erosion and sedimentation control barrier be established at the new edge of the wetland. I'd prefer that this be a wood chip berm or a mulch berm. It's something, a lot of times when silt fence is installed, it gets installed and left in place for years. Something like mulch or wood chips can serve as adequate erosion and sedimentation control, and then simply compost in place and become part of the soil. I've looked at the soil and the plants that are currently growing in the wetland. There's a lot of good naturally occurring wetland plants that are growing in this wetland. And once that wetland soil is re-exposed, they'll reappear. The skunk cabbage, the cinnamon fern, all of those things will come back. There's good rootstock in there. There's good seed stock in there. I have recommended, just to kickstart things, that a wetland seed mix be spread over the area where the fill is excavated out of, and that an upland seed mix be put around the edge of the wetland. And then, as your staff, as Kathy mentioned, I recommend a couple years of inspections and reporting to the commission as follow-up, just to see that this effort succeeds. I have experience with this type of project in several other towns, and given the nature of the fill, given the nature of the wetland, I think that this is something that will succeed in restoring that wetland. I'll just mention that Ben Whalen, who is the owner's representative, is also on the line. If you have any questions, I'm sure both of us would be happy to answer them for you. Thank
May
you.
I ask just a question regarding the monitoring? Because you're saying that once the soil is, established again and the plants will come back, would you
Mhm.
recommend no mowing?
I would recommend no mowing in the wetland and right on the upland slope that's established as well.
Okay. So we have to make sure we include that. Okay.
Mhm.
No. Thank you.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Larry Edwards, I met you at the remediation course up at Devil's Hop Yard.
Devil's Hop Yard. Mhm.
You're from Hampton, right?
Yes.
Yes. My cousin Linda went to school with you. Jordan.
Linda Jordan. Absolutely.
Is there you're talking about like wood chips being put in that area. Is there certain kinds of wood that are no good to be used as chips?
It's actually better. That's a good question. It's actually better to use hardwoods. I try to stay away from things like pines and things that would generate a lot of acidity. And hardwood chips typically work better without generating extra acidity into the wetland.
Okay, good.
I have a question. Did the owner fill this in, or was it filled in prior? And
No,
he just figured it out?
no, the owner did the work.
Oh, so the owner filled that in, leveled it off, and then that's where we are now.
Right, because then he contacted me about putting in a shed, and he told me he had done some work on the property, and I asked him what he had done, and then I said to him, "We're going to have these flagged because I think you might have a wetlands violation." And then he
Okay.
did what I asked him to do.
Okay.
So
No, I wasn't sure if it was filled in prior to him even doing anything, and he just cleared it out, and then we discovered that it was filled, or he filled it.
yeah, no,
Okay.
he did the work.
Okay.
So did material get brought into the site? Or did they grab material from his property to fill?
Bob, do you know the answer to that question?
I will tell you what my interpretation is. I wasn't there when it happened, but it looked very much like material from the site
Yeah.
was just smoothed and pushed into the edge of the wetland.
That's what it looked like in the photos.
I assume so probably it was wetlands, they just wanted extra yard space and probably just didn't understand what they were doing.
Yep.
Mhm,
Presumably. Mhm.
mhm.
So I guess with Kathy, we're looking for next steps on what the commission's gonna be looking for.
Mhm.
I assume that we would probably look for an after the fact permit, but the permit would then,
So we don't need to get a permit on this because it's a cease and correct order, so the action is part of that order.
okay. Well,
So we,
they wouldn't need a permit to do the actual corrective action.
no, because that's part of the order.
I got a question, Mr. Chairman. Is this on the water side? Is it on the
Yes.
left side going to fireworks or the right side?
It's the backyard is bordered by the water.
So that water's always running. So Bob mentioned bringing a machine back there. That could be very bad if a hydraulic hose or something breaks, because that water runs all the way down. That water goes all the way up. And we did a lot of work. We issued permits up there. We made sure there was no machines up there, in that area because of it's gonna be it's gonna be all handwork.
It looks
That
like it's
water-
pretty far away from the water, no?
What's that?
How far is it away from the water?
It's
Just
pretty
for-
close.
Just for clarity, do you mean the river?
Yeah, the river. Yep.
Oh, it's on the opposite side of the road from the river.
Oh, okay.
So it's on, if you're headed northward, it's on the left-hand side.
Okay,
of
that's what I was
Wetland Works,
asking.
And the river backs up on the lots on the right-hand
On
side.
the right-hand side, right, because we had a few homes that had problems
Mhm.
there. They were mitigated.
Yeah,
So,
there's,
'cause I could
there's
from the
water in
area.
the back, but it's not the river. It's not a big, water body like that. But there
Okay.
is water in the
That's
back.
what I was asking.
There is standing water in the wetland back there. Absolutely, but it's not, it doesn't have a direct connection to the river. And I probably should have added to my notes as well, but the equipment should all be staged from the upland. In other
Right.
words, there shouldn't be any equipment working within the wetland, and I don't believe I put that in my letter, but I
Okay.
think it's
That's what I was a
would be an
little
excellent thing to
confused
add.
about with the machine too. Okay.
So, one other question I have is, you said you had to have a soil scientist there during the complete expulsion of that work? Or
Correct.
no?
I think it's important to do that, and I don't think that it's going to take that long to excavate this out. It's not a large area, it's not particularly deep, but it's important to be able to identify when you've gotten the fill out and to stop right at the native topsoil. And that's an important aspect of doing a good job of wetland restoration.
Kathy, you said you noticed trees that were cut, freshly cut.
Yes.
Do they
Mhm.
have to be removed, the stumps?
There's two stumps there. Bob, how tall would you say they are? A couple feet?
A couple feet tall, there's a couple stumps there. My preference would be to leave those stumps in place because the root mass stabilizes the
Yeah,
soil there.
right. So if you just cut them down, because I was gonna say, if you pull them out, that'll destabilize that.
Mhm.
And even though you don't need a permit, it, as part of the cease and correct order, as I stated, and again, it's all up to you as the commission, but I did add as conditions, the conditions from Bob Russo's report. And then there are findings as well, and a couple of other conditions, and just, again, things for you to discuss, whether you want to put a bond on it, or whether you want a site visit, or, all the different things you might want to consider.
But that'll be up to our illustrious chairman with the bonds, but I'm just saying, as long as they don't cut, remove the stumps and soil and erosion controls are in place, and find out what kind of wood chips they're gonna be using, preferably hardwood. you don't want a lot of talons and stuff like that by the water. And then even the mulch, you have to be careful about the mulch, type of mulch, right, Larry?
Yes,
I would
Yeah,
add all
mulch.
of that to conditions, so you make sure it's
Yeah,
part of the
You have to
order.
worry about the mulch and everything, so use a cedar mulch, something hard.
Mhm.
yeah. Something with less tannins, less acids.
Less acids, no talons, you don't want any of that in there, so.
So, I mean.
That would have
with
discussion
those-
through Kathy or you as a condition, instead of having another meeting about which one to use.
Yeah,
Or
well, Kat, you know, I mean, we'll just follow your guide, you were up there, you know, and then.
I
You're-
mean,
You
Bob's
already hired
assessment
Bob,
was very accurate. I mean,
Yeah.
he and I saw the same thing. So,
Yeah.
I just, again, it's up to the commission, but if they want to go out to see it, but, I think both of us gave you the
you
same.
want a bond on it, Mr. Chairman?
Up to the commission, you hold bonding for projects to make sure that, projects are completed.
Yeah,
Uh,
make sure they're done.
I personally, if this is a discussion, I think on this one would pass on a bond. It sounds like these guys did not know that they were hurting anything.
No,
They
right,
called somebody out to get a permit for a shed, which is already something that I think a lot of residents don't do.
nobody
It
does.
sounds like they called a soil scientist. I'm sure they paid for that out of pocket. Like, I think that it sounds like they're going to do the right thing here, and I think that we could probably in the future, if some sort of fines or something had to be levied, I'm sure they could be. But it sounds to me like,
I
these guys are
wasn't talking
making.
about any fines, Ryan, I was just
Yeah,
talking.
no. What I'm saying is, if in lieu of a bond, like if something happened down the road, we could
Yeah.
do something like that. But it seems to me like these guys are probably doing their best to remediate this, and we'll keep an eye on it. And now they know
Yeah,
not to mess with the wetlands.
okay,
And I would
Yeah.
also recommend a completion date, if you do make a motion so that, that it doesn't just hang out, that there's a date to complete by. And again, I would defer, I don't know, Bob, if the soil it's been a pretty warm winter, if it's frozen, if there has to be a certain time period that they wait until, or if it's okay to do it now, or best when it's spring.
there's definitely no frozen. Nothing's frozen.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's correct. It would be okay to do it now.
So why don't we give them, 60 days to complete it? Is that
That's,
fair?
that's what I was thinking, between 60 and 90 days.
And then,
I would say,
that'll
yeah,
give time
same.
for the seed. April, you throw the seed down and then it'll start coming up,
Yeah.
right, Bob? That's when you plant
That's it.
the special seed.
I think we're right on with 60 to 90 days, just in the unlikely event, but the potential event that we have a big cold snap and it does freeze for a few weeks. I mean, we're only right now halfway through winter. Give them a little bit of time. I think, 60, 90 days is
Yep.
perfectly
I
appropriate.
Do you
agree.
want to put a date on that in the minutes or the motion, so it's a little clearer for me to monitor?
Yeah, let's look at a calendar here.
What's today, the 6th?
You want to say
Today's-
April 6th?
February 6th. Oh, April 6th.
Yeah. April's warm,
By the time spring breaks, it should be done then.
yeah.
Yeah.
90
I would, since instead of, I
May.
would maybe put it back a little bit deeper into April personally. Even just I'd say if you
April
call it
28th.
April 28th, gives them sort of plenty of time, I think. And then you've got all of April that the ground will not be frozen.
And the seed will take and everything will be good.
That's fine, but I just. So what date are we gonna write down?
The
April 28th.
April 28th, yeah.
All right.
So I guess Kathy, you made in your remediation, you took the 7 points from Mr. Russo's.
Yeah, so I drafted a motion if you choose to move forward with approving it, and I added the conditions from the report, The only thing I would add on top of that would be, the specific date that needs to be completed by, and that there should be no mowing of that area. And also if you want to mention something about the wood chip type.
Yeah, just hardwood.
And
Hardwood.
and Bob, are the seeds something that he can buy? Where does he get the
So that
seeds?
seed is special seed.
You can
just
order
can't
it.
He can purchase them. There are places in Connecticut, New York, and Massachusetts that you can buy that type of seed mix.
And we could give him guidance on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
great.
in the motion.
Okay.
Mr. Russo put the websites in. So they're in there. I think you can order it.
You just Google
Yeah, it says what's it? Nep Seed Company or something. New England Control for Moisture.
Cool.
Yeah, it's in here. He's got the websites and everything.
Yep.
In the mold.
that
Yeah.
little box is very expensive.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Well,
And then make sure that they don't just be, so there's no ambiguity with, make sure that they do not remove the stumps. They can cut them down, but they can't remove those stumps because that stumps are holding the soils together.
I'd add that to the conditions too.
Yeah, put that in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
leave them stumps.
just so I'm clear, Sherry and Kathy, so the motion we'd be making would be to approve Kathy's remediation plan?
It's, so the beginning, it just says here to move to approve the remediation plan submitted by Robert Russo, certified soil scientist. I have, does anybody have, I can pull it up on my screen, my report with the draft motion?
Oh, yeah, would you mind pulling that up?
I have it here
Sure.
somewhere.
And then somebody can read right off of it, and then. So I counted, whoever makes the motion can add the special conditions, so. For my list, we're setting April 28th as the deadline to have the remediation complete. No mowing of the wetland area. The use of hardwood chips. If they so do choose to use a wood chip berm. And then they're allowed to cut down the existing stubs, but to remove or to keep the root ball rather than removing the actual.
Okay, so let me go back.
I think these are the four additions.
Excuse me, I have to leave now. I have another Zoom meeting, but thank you for letting me join you. This is all very interesting.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thanks, Marion.
Thank you for your work.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Let me see how
Glad
I,
you could join us.
Let me go back to. I'm trying to share here. I'll get to it in just a sec. Sometimes it doesn't make the little pointer.
I just wanted to make a note for you, for everybody. Due to our new permitting system, we're not gonna differentiate between special conditions and regular conditions. The normal ones you use, we're gonna put them just all in one group now. We've been working on getting the computer system tweaked a little bit to tailor it more. And we've come across an issue trying to put separating the commission's conditions. So you can either add them at the beginning of your conditions or at the end. I would suggest do it in the beginning.
All right, I have it up. Just bear with me with the controls. I am screen sharing and I'm just trying to
Yep.
find the motion. It's here somewhere. Let me just do this. Just getting familiar with the controls on this to find, I'm just trying to pull up the It's, if you pull up the agenda, under, if the link for the application is my report, and I just had it up on the screen, but now I'm trying to,
Do you remember the name of your
Share.
report?
it's called the WEO report. It was from February 5th, I believe. It's the last item in the list of documents.
Yeah, get a X out of that one, and it was, I think it was right underneath the Zoom.
Yeah, I have it up. Just
Oh,
see
I
if
got it,
I can-
Kathy. Do you want me
It's
to,
the memorandum dated February 1st.
yeah, do you want me to share, Kathy?
Please, let me go back in.
I can read it if you want.
Yeah, if you have it up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ryan,
we-
do you mind
read it.
I'll read it and then you guys will help me through the additions.
Yep, sure.
All right, so here's the memorandum. Should I make a motion to approve this?
You would want to make a motion. So if you find my memorandum, it's on page 3. It says, should the Wetlands Commission consider approval? And then I did the motion and I typed it out for you. So you can make sure you include the report, the date. It's in the middle of page 3 of 4.
Middle of page 3 of 4. All right,
The Inland Wetland Commission
cool.
consider
I'll make
approval.
I've got it here. So I'll make a motion to approve the remediation plan submitted by Robert C. Russo, CSS from CLA Engineers Incorporated, dated December 20th, 2023, for remediation of the inland wetlands violation C-23-80 and cease and correct order dated January 26, 2024 on 13 Ironworks Road, map 51, block 39, lot 62, with the following conditions. Remediation will be completed by May 1st, 2024. We're going to adjust that to
April.
April 28th,
April 28th.
2024. All right.
Why don't we just leave it at the May 1st? That she has.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. It's in writing. So we'll
Yeah.
remediation will be
Leave it May
completed by May 1st, 2024.
Yep.
2, the Wetlands Enforcement Officer, Kathy Savona, will be notified prior to the start of remediation work and upon completion. 3, remove the fill recently placed in the wetland with a small excavator under supervision of a certified soil scientist. 4, establish an erosion control barrier, preferably a wood chip or mulch berm at the edge of the restored wetland. This should be maintained until the vegetation has stabilized the soil. That's it. 5, restore a non-steep slope less than 3:1 in the upland adjacent to the wetland. 6, seed the restored wetland with New England erosion control for moist sites. Seed mix available from newp.com/seed-mixes. 7, mulch the upland with clean straw and seed it with New England Conservation Wildlife Mix, also available from newp.com/seed-mixes. Any suitable fill should be properly disposed of off-site. 9, monitor and control the site for invasive species for 2 years. Monitoring reports shall be due to the wetland, to the WEO. 10, an as-built conditions plan will be submitted by Robert C. Russo, CSS, detailing the work done, impact to the inland wetlands, and detailed plans for required 2-year monitoring. 11, CLA does not feel that additional plantings of woody herbaceous vegetation needed as the rootstock and seed stock in the existing wetland soil will restore the site with suitable species. And adopt the following findings of fact. As conditioned, the remediation.
Stop a
Yes.
minute. You wanted to add the special conditions?
Yeah, the
Well,
ones about the stumps and the not mowing.
So I guess
And the
12?
use of hardwood.
Got it. So 12, use of hardwood chips. 13, don't mow the area. 14, leave stumps as is.
I would say, just to clarify about mowing, it would be mowing within the restored wetland area.
Perfect. Mowing within the restored wetland area.
No mowing, yeah.
Could I just bring one point up? What
Please.
about, in the previous, times where they've had to take out stuff like this? should they verify any kind of receipt of dumping this stuff properly?
They may be able to just dump it on their property. I mean,
On their
looking at
property,
it,
yeah.
yeah, they may be able to just grade it back out.
Right.
That's my
Okay.
guess. So
Yeah.
they just got to let us know what they did, I think.
Okay.
So let's finish up this motion here. And adopt the following findings of fact. One,
Wait a
as-
minute. I think we lost, I just want to make sure. Number 12 was the use of hardwood chip.
Mhm.
Chip.
Oh,
Yep.
chips
For the mulch berm.
for mulch berm. Number 13 is no mowing within the restored wetland area.
Yep.
And was there a third one?
there was 14 and it was don't touch the stumps.
Okay, was that no stump removal?
No stump removal, but you
Yeah,
can
no
cut
stump
them
removal.
down.
No stuff.
Yeah, just
You
leave
can cut them
existing
down, but you
stumps.
just can't remove them because
my guess is they're not going to want to touch them. Leave existing stumps as is. If they wanted to remove those two, they'd have to get machines out there. It'd be no fun.
Well, we would let them cut it down like flush to the ground.
You can cut them down to the ground though, Ryan.
Okay.
But
So it'll look
do not remove stumps, I guess.
Do not remove them. Do not upset the root system.
Okay, do not remove. No stump removal.
Right.
Period.
But may cut them down flush.
great, yep.
But may be cut down
Flush.
flush with ground.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because that's 12, 13, and 14.
Yep.
Anything?
We'd also like to adopt the following findings of fact. One, as conditioned, the remediation plan incorporates reasonable measures to restore the inland wetlands impacted by the unpermitted activity conducted in a regulated area 0 to 50 feet from the inland wetlands. Two, the completion of remediation plan approved by the Inland Wetlands Commission for the inland wetlands violation will satisfy the conditions of the Inland Wetlands Enforcement Regulations 13.3A and 13.3C. That is it.
Okay.
So I made that motion, I guess, and now we need a second.
I'll second it, Ryan.
Second.
Second was Eddie.
Yep.
Any discussion from the commission?
No.
I got a question for Mr. Chairman. Is the soil scientist we have now, Bob Russo, is he gonna monitor everything throughout this? Bob, you gonna monitor everything? Or is he gonna retain another soil scientist?
Again, for the record, Bob Russo, I anticipate that I will monitor everything. I've not been engaged to do that. If the commission, typically the way I put it is I don't put my name in there because the applicant has the right to hire another soil scientist should they desire.
Right.
If the commission desires, they could indicate that they need to approve of the person that will do the monitoring. Or they can simply require that it be a certified soil scientist without specifying the name.
Okay.
I think that would be appropriate, right? As long as the certified soil scientist.
Yes.
Yep, so that's part of the motion that it needs to
Yeah,
be
that,
certified.
it's
soil.
number 3 on the
Right.
conditions.
Yeah, it's already in there.
Perfect.
I was just wondering if he retained them already. He didn't.
He has not.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission before we vote?
No, sir. I don't.
Okay, Sherry, can you do roll call vote?
Sure. Just give me a moment. Lawrence Edwards,
Aye.
Edward Alberino,
Aye.
Michael Florio,
Aye.
Bertram Schmitz,
Aye.
Ryan Tardisel,
Aye.
Robert Corson.
Aye.
It is unanimous.
You didn't ask for my vote.
Hmm?
You didn't ask for my vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott.
He can't vote unless he's bringing a tie.
I'm not used to having all these people to vote, people here to vote. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favor, no opposed, and no abstentions. And Mr. Horvath was not seated.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Russo. Good.
Thank you all very much. I
Thank you,
appreciate your
Mr.
time.
Russo. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
So, in order of business, we need to make a motion to add item number 5 to our agenda. This is going to be
Is that 359?
yes, 359 East
Oh, it
Main
is.
for IWC permit 20-01R. So can I get a
Yep.
motion on this for our agenda?
Make a motion to add to the agenda.
Do I
I'll
have a-
second it.
Seconds, any discussion? Those voting in favor say aye.
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 Opposed or abstained? Okay. Now we can discuss the bonding for 359 East Main Street. I guess Kathy, you can lead us
Yeah.
off.
So looking through some files here, they've just come in for their building permit, even though this was approved back in 2020. And looking through everything, it said that a condition was that the bond be set by the town engineer, and we have different engineer now than we did. So the bond was never set by that town engineer. So I contacted our current town engineer, and he gave us an estimate based on the number of linear feet of silt fence. And he said he would suggest $10 per linear foot to cover maintenance and the need for other sedimentation controls. And he said the one line of silt fence seemed minimal. So what I did was I attached the site plan that was approved and also the IWC approval minutes, just for everyone to refresh their memories if they were serving, and if not, to look at those. And then I forwarded this to Scott as our chair and also as an engineer. So I'll let him go from here.
Sure. So I just took the plan that was originally approved and measured off the silt fence. Came up with 280 linear feet. So at $10 a linear foot, I rounded up and suggest a bond of $3,000 for this property.
Sounds good. I was on that commission when we approved that. Yeah, I remember that whole thing. Yep.
So I guess if everyone's okay with just setting a bond amount of 3,000, we can make a motion to do that.
Make a motion to set a bond for $3,000.
Second.
I'll second it. Whatever, Ryan.
Yep. All right. Any discussion? All right. All those voting in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? Okay, that was an easy one. All right, on to item agenda number 5. Well, it's going to be 6 now, administrative review. So I don't believe we have any new applications up, so we can go right to staff reports.
Okay, so I just have a couple things that I wanted to mention. One was I passed along this really cute beaver web. I got it from a newsletter that I received. And the reason I wanted to share it with you guys is because there is a phone number on here. I know there's been a lot of beaver questions, but it says if you are ever facing beaver related issues and need assistance, you can fill out the form on our website or send an email to helpdesk@beaverinstitute.org with details and the type of support or services you require, and they can connect you with beaver wetland professionals in your area. So I just thought that was something I wanted to bring to your attention.
That
And
something that you guys kind of are going to up in land use office in case this question comes in.
yeah, absolutely. So that was one thing I wanted to mention, and I don't know what other was.
Was,
There was something else too.
it was education, it was the DEET course.
That's right. Thank you, Sherry. I thought I had everything all with me here. So I did check in the Connecticut Deep, the course they have for inland wetland commissioners is back up and running. They had made some changes to it. I've done the course twice, and the first time I did it, there were different components in different places. One was in Old Lyme at the Deep headquarters. Then I went up to Burlington, Connecticut to walk in the pits to see the, how they do the soil testing. And there was an online component, a classroom component. I'm not sure now if it's all virtual, but it's a really terrific course if you've never taken it. And you can do it at your own pace. It's not all at once. The last time I took it, it was more virtual, and I don't believe there's a fee. And it really talks a lot about wetlands, because wetlands are confusing because there doesn't have to be water to be a wetlands present. It's a soil type.
Soils.
Yeah, there's four. There's alluvial, floodplain, poorly drained, and very poorly drained. So we can't tell with the eyes. I mean, I suppose people like, who are certified soil scientists can look at vegetation and, make some pretty good educated guesses. But for most of us, we need the soil type. So it's just it's a great course, and I highly recommend it if you haven't taken it.
I got a question for you, Kath.
Sure.
This new as of right for beavers. Can you explain some of the changes that was made?
Sure. So what we did was that there are no regulations for beaver activity, because technically what we permit is humans, what they do in the wetlands if there's earth disturbance, not something that's caused from nature. So if someone has beaver issues, we can permit what they do, in terms of earth disturbance, whether they, do something to, the dam, or they get a beaver deceiver or things like that. And so when this commission approved the beaver deceiver on 32 Old Nod, they decided to do it as a non-regulated activity. So the person didn't have to pay all the fees, and they didn't have to go through all those approvals. So, and when she went through the Beaver Institute, which is what this is from, she was able to receive grant funds. So the only difficulty with it is that you do have to have permission from the property owner. So if you have a property that's impacted by a beaver dam, and the beaver dam is, 3 houses away, you need to have permission from that property owner for somebody to go on that property to.
Hypothetically, could we use Florio's house?
Yeah, that's my that's
Use
my
his
problem.
property as a guideline, because he's got multiple dams.
Right.
He's got acres and acres of
Right,
decimated.
but the problem
wood.
is my neighbors don't think any of that's a problem.
Yeah, they think it's,
So
they want to
How
have
could I
it.
fix it? I can't fix it.
So the
Don't you-
town doesn't have the right to go onto the property if it's not town owned, because I've talked with Todd, our public works director, about it.
No,
If
I
it was,
understand.
yeah, town water
Mhm.
body, then the town could give permission, but when it's private property, the permission has to be
Well-
given by the property owner.
Yeah, but this all of this is good, but it's kind of useless to some extent, because I can't force my neighbor to let me put the beaver deceiver where it needs to be, because part of that dam is on their property and they don't think it's a problem, even though
Yeah.
it is a problem. And you've seen my house, you've been there. I mean, you've seen all
Yeah.
that water, and it's not like I'm making this stuff up. I mean, but to them, it's not an issue because their house is, 65 feet higher than mine,
Mhm.
and my house, is the lowest house. I mean, but so it's affecting me, but not affecting them. But they won't let anybody go in there and put this deceiver in, which is not doing anything to their property, to say,
Yeah.
because they can't use it.
Kathy, can't the town get involved? Excuse me, can't the town get involved if I got pictures from Mike Newton that did the behind Mike's house before the beavers built.
Mhm.
Horses used to walk and go across the pond.
Mhm.
Across the pond. So, and people will walk back there, and it was
Mhm.
passed. Mike Newton has proof of this, and the neighbors rode their horses.
Mhm.
Because of those dams, Mike lost all those trees, just like the people on Ferry Dell Road.
Mhm.
So, if it was as of right, if you're not supposed to discharge onto other people's property, so if a property is obstructing the water, the flow of water, and it's all going into Florio's property, and I'm using Mike's because I can't believe that he lost acres and acres of trees that actually fell, and now it's up on Spencer Court. The trees are falling down in the yards. So all this water, I can't believe that there's no legal precedent that we could use to force them to let Florio put a beaver deceiver on the property, even though it's not Mike's property, it's on that guy's property who's causing all the water damage. It's like me pumping off water if I had water into a lot. Like we had a
Yeah, no, I totally understand your frustration
Stonewall. Remember
there.
Stonewall
Yeah,
pumped all
yep.
that water into that woman's yard, ruined her yard.
So this is the difference. That was a pipe that was installed on the property you're talking
Illegal.
about. That was, yes.
Right.
This is
Yes.
nature. It's
the one
not
I pulled
something
up.
that's someone did. It's an act of nature that's causing the diversion. So it's not really a violation because they're not creating it. It's something in nature.
What I'm just saying
Well, the
is,
only-
it's just, why can't they work with Mr. Florio and
They
mitigate
should.
that problem?
I mean, I agree with you, but really, unfortunately for us, in terms of my authority, it would really be a civil matter.
Force them to fix it?
It would be a matter to take to court and sue the person to say,
It
hey,
would be a civil matter.
Larry, you think
property.
he would prevail in that?
it's very possible.
I think he would prevail. To decimate his property.
Wetlands committee on his side, maybe, you know, it's as long as you don't have to abstain from it, you know.
Yeah, it's tricky because, as you said, Eddie, it's impacting other properties.
Yes,
And
it really is.
yeah, and if the property owner gave permission, they could take care of it. But it really becomes a civil issue because the problem is, like I said, if it was a town body of water, then we could do it.
Right.
But because it's private property, we don't really have the authority at that point.
So who actually owns that property? Is that property, Mike? That property behind your house, right? The side behind your house?
Everybody owns to a certain property line and all those properties. So everybody that's on my side owns a piece of that pond. Or
Okay,
water.
so they don't go all the way across, right?
Yeah, it goes all the way across. Yeah,
Right. So each person owns a property all the way across?
pretty much. Yeah, I think it's pretty much across that pond, close. Yeah, and I have two neighbors that don't want to do it. So
Yeah, they
but
put
I got
benches there, watch the beavers.
yeah, I put four. I got the other 4 or 5 that are on board with doing it, but the other 2 don't want to do it. So there's nothing I can do. What am I gonna do? Until it gets to a point where I got to do something, whatever I got to do.
I got you.
You know, and I told Mike, you know, I'm more than happy to meet with any neighbors who have questions. I mean, because
They did call you, Kath. I mean, because
Yeah.
I gave them the information about the Beaver Institute, what we wanted to do,
Yeah.
and they called, but they told you that they don't think it's a problem. So to them, it's not a problem. I mean, that's the
Not
answer.
coming in your yard. His shed,
Well,
was,
that's the
his
problem.
shed
They
had
don't-
like 2 feet of water up on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, but whatever. It's whatever. Let's move on. I don't even want to talk about it. It's frustrating.
I was just using you, Florio, because
Being a-
everybody's seen it.
They're
We're
living
just
in.
beating a dead horse. They're beating a dead horse. It's crazy, but whatever. It is what it is, and I have to take care of it when I got to take care of it. I got to sue them. I got to sue them. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's what'll happen. All right, next.
Next.
Right, any on your report, Kathy?
So yeah, the only thing I see Sherry noted just a couple of WEO permits, one for removal of a shed and a deck. And that one, they had to come through planning and zoning for a CAM because they had wetlands inland and tidal. And then the other one, but the work was being done in the upland, and then the other was just a Bilco door. So that's all set. And as Sherry mentioned, we don't have any upcoming applications. And then the deep, that's just a notification that we get from them. And that's all I have.
So I covered item 6, correspondence. 7, old business. I don't think we have any old business to talk about. New business. Does anybody have? Okay, additions to next month's agenda? I think probably not. Chair's comments. I don't have any comments other than welcome, Chris. Hopefully we didn't scare you away.
He's a pastor. You gotta hear the stuff.
I'm not easily intimidated, but thank you.
But then I just wanted to bring up, I assume next month's meeting is going to be in person at town hall.
Yeah, I believe so. Sherry just had a couple of issues where there wasn't enough room availability. And that's why these meetings were virtual, but the other ones will be hybrid. So they'll be in
Okay.
person, but if someone
We
can't
could use
attend,
Florio's house. We got the whole backyard. We could cook steaks.
What are you talking? We'll be floating away. We'll need life jackets.
We'll have a
Yeah.
party with the beavers, you know?
Sounds.
Everybody bring a gun. Just kidding,
So
Cap.
that I'll take a motion.
all right.
All right, thanks.
Kathy, you'll-
I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those voting in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Hey,
everyone. Have a
Eddie,
nice
Eddie, I was just
night.
over at your firehouse with the Girl Scout troop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was
Nice.
great, man. It was so cool. They let them climb all over the trucks. Like it was the siblings were allowed to go. It was a blast. That place is really incredible. It's really
It's big,
clean.
huh?
It's big. I mean, I know all fire departments you go to, like everything's just so immaculate, but they really had a good time. All the